Well, cross-examination of the Deputy President, Cyril Ramaphosa, has wrapped up at the Farlam Commission of Inquiry. Now, he's faced tough questions for 2 days now. And for more on the Farlam Commission, let's cross live now to our contributing political editor, that's Dali Mpofu, who's been monitoring proceedings over the past 2 days. Good afternoon, Vuyo, and thank you for your time on the PM News Desk.
Afternoon, Kesh.
Good afternoon, Vuyo. Advocate Dali Mpofu today really getting his teeth into the Deputy President. Now, Mpofu arguing that Ramaphosa's involvement in the event was motivated by his own financial interests. How did the Deputy President hold up, Vuyo?
Well, not too well, I'm afraid, certainly from the way things went for most of the day today. I think it was, first and foremost, to be expected that Dali Mpofu was really going to go for broke and try and build a case that would then lead the commission to, hopefully, to his own conclusion. And his own conclusion being that Cyril Ramaphosa was in one way or the other complicit in the killing of those mine workers. In other words, what he said right at the end was that he's going to ask the commission to actually recommend that Cyril Ramaphosa be charged for a murder alongside those who pulled, that is the police officers who pulled the trigger or the triggers on that fateful day. And how he did it, it was to basically say, in spite of what the Deputy President is arguing, that all he did was to actually get the police to do what they were supposed to do anyway. And the calls he made, the emails that he wrote, all of those things were done so that those who are in charge or those whose responsibility it was to do certain things, among those things, the maintenance of law and order, he was merely asking them to do their job and to do the right thing to prevent further losses of life. So obviously, Dali Mpofu, who is representing the victims and survivors of those Marikana workers, would like to actually, we're in fact arguing differently, saying you have blood on your hands, you should accept that were it not for your actions, in other words, you spurred the police to act the way they did. You leaned on the political principle of the police so that he then, you know, it's a domino effect. He then leans on the commissioner of police, who then leans on the operational guys further down. So that in essence was the argument that Dali Mpofu, the legal representative of the workers, was putting before the commission.
Vuyo, Mpofu using some very loaded statements today, in fact saying Cyril Ramaphosa was caught up in, I quote, a cesspool of incestuous relationships in relation to Marikana, of course. Now, what is Mpofu alluding to here, and how did Cyril respond?
Well, I guess it was part of his building of a case. In essence, what he was saying that because you have all these relationships with all these different entities, organizations, personalities that had a lot to do with what subsequently happened. From Dali Mpofu's view, that is obviously. He was saying, if you look at the ANC, you are a senior official of the governing party, the African National Congress. You are a member of the National Executive Committee, and the ANC is a governing party. So whatever you said, if you picked up a call to a minister, that is most likely to be listened to with a more sympathetic eye than would be the case, for example, if an ordinary South African was to pick up a call and make that, like and call a minister. So he was saying you are in a very different position. Again, he says you were a director at Lonmin. So when the senior management at Lonmin, when you spoke, the senior management at Lonmin would listen. You were the head of the transformation committee of the board of Lonmin. So when you spoke, you were listened to. So it says in all these capacities, that's what he was referring to. He says all these capacities made people to get up and do certain things. And of course, the ANC and country deputy president took exception to that by saying you cannot say that this movement that has stood for all great things of this world, whose responsibility it is to lead South Africans, you can't say that that is an incestuous relationship. So there were problems of definition and of understanding where, but people were coming obviously from different vantage points.
Yes, Vuyo, very quickly, one wonders to what extent has all this damaged the image of the deputy president in the eyes of the people. I mean, it is a trade unionist turned billionaire, a person with such strong struggle credentials, who even led the 1987 historic strike for fairer pay for black miners under apartheid. And now he's facing accusations that he put political pressure on police to take action against these miners. I mean, this is Cyril Ramaphosa we are talking about, a freedom fighter and activist, but now he's being pilloried as a capitalist. Will he weather the storm and come through, do you think, Vuyo?
I think there is a certain level of damage. To what extent or how big, I think will remain a moot point. But I think among the things that this episode has in fact exposed, it is, I think, the contradictions that you're finding in today's South Africa. Today's conditions are different from, in other words, where before 1994, people were united, they had a common enemy and common causes. Today, the situation is not as clear. In other words, it'll continue to be a struggle. It'll continue to be a point of discussion. In other words, as South Africans, these are issues we should continue to confront. And at the end of the day, I think people are going to have to make choices and actually live with the choices that they make. In other words, if you decide that you're a business person, and when these contradictions swell, I think you should accept that people will view you in a different light, irrespective of your history, of your reputation, or even of the ability to actually unite and fight for the rights of these people. That at some point you do have to make a choice between, for example, profits and the way people want to lead their lives, especially the poor and the downtrodden, the underpaid, and everyone else.
Thank you. That was Vuyo Mvoko coming to us live from the Farlam Commission of Inquiry underway in Pretoria. Proceedings there will resume at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning.